So just to start off, I'm using one of these Druzy molds. It's the round ones. I think it's the large version from Art for Start, and I'll list everything down below for you. But I am going to do something that I hope Olga is not going to get upset with me for. All in the name of art, I am actually going to cut it. So if you're buying one of these, I would advise you, if you want to do this, to buy two. You can keep one whole, and like myself, you can trace this on one of those coaster molds and then slice it into four. And I felt quite the daredevil doing this, but as I said, it's all in the name of art. It's quite simple. You just cut them into 4 slices like this, and then fit them very snugly corner to corner into these 4 slice coaster molds. Really quick and easy to do. Make sure you press it completely down flat against the silicone so that no resin will seep underneath. And I'm going to be using some craft resin for this, and I've mixed myself some up. And I have a little handy tip for you to get rid of air bubbles in advance of putting them in a mold, so you don't need too much heat once you've poured. And that's to use a torchlight and just torch it quickly in the cup. Now I'm going to be using some alcohol inks for this particular method, but then I discovered that not all inks are compatible with resin, and you'll see in a minute what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start off with a bunch of Tim Holtz alcohol inks. The first one is patina, and this goes in very well. No problems with it. I only added a couple of drops, and you really want to be careful not to add too many drops when you're creating these Druzy creations, because you will not then see the Druzy effect from the other side. So I think I've used exactly 3 drops in this, and I'm simply just going to pour it on the top. And then I've got my little Laura's Art Corner box of little treats, and she's got some gorgeous stuff in there, and I just felt like it needed some sort of stones or embellishment. I wasn't sure about putting glitter, although it could look nice. So I have these gorgeous silver and gold and different colours stones. So then I get onto the colour amethyst, and I put a couple of drops in, and then you can see it just suddenly disappears. It was the strangest thing. It just goes almost clear. So I put in a couple more drops, thinking, oh, well, maybe this particular colour needs a little more than usual. And it did exactly the same thing. So then I tried some Cool Perry. It went so light, it was almost blue. So then I switched to some Vineyard from Just For You online. And this is a very, very strong pigment paste. And as you can see, I put just a little blob in. But what happened was it was too much, and it went really opaque. And as I'm staring into the cup, I could tell it's a little opaque, and I thought that's not going to work with this Druzy effect. So I tested a little bit on, flattening it with my silicone spatula, and after a while I decided it was too opaque, and I needed to add some clear resin into it.
He's still at IKEA.
Lessen the opacity of it, and that's what I did. And that was much better. It worked out better, because you really do need the lightest tint of colour for these effects. And so I was happy with that, and I just poured the rest in. And you do want to kind of push the resin down into the Druzy mould. And the reason is there will be lots and lots of air pockets and bubbles that will rise from in between those little intricate Druzy bits. So now I've mixed in some wild plum, and it ended up quite pink rather than plum colour, but it was fine. It was a cute colour at the end, and I managed to put in 3 drops, and it came out lovely and transparent. And I've done the same with some black alcohol ink, and I've put in about 3 drops. And I could have done with that being a little less opaque at the end. Actually, I could have maybe have gotten away with 2 drops of alcohol ink, but you know, it's kind of trial and error. So I'm happy with that, and I pour that in. Then to finish off all 4 of these coasters, I'm taking the leftover clear resin and I'm just adding it along the edge until the whole surface of the mold is filled up to the top. And I did have to zap this quite a few times with my torch lighter to make sure that all those bubbles floating up from the druzy part of the mold got zapped away, because you really don't want the top layer having holes in it. I've just taken some of those metal glass shards, the silver, and I thought that I would just put a spoonful of silver all along the edge on all 4 colours. And it's better to do this after you've filled up the whole mold, rather than place it down first in the mold, because what happens is there's lots of air pockets underneath, and when you then unmold and turn it around, you'll get those little tiny little holes on the bottom of the coasters, which don't look very good. So I'm going to go all the way around, and then I'm going to cover this with a nice plastic box overnight to cure, to protect it from any flying bits of debris in the air. Believe me, my studio has many. So it's now completely dried, and I am going to place a paper towel face down, and I'm going to turn this mold around so that I protect the surface. It's not 100% dry, so I am not risking scratching the surface of the resin. Find yourself a corner and then peel back, and when you get to those frayed edges, just kind of like poke your finger along the edge, as you can see that I'm doing there, and then kind of like wiggle it out. That's the best way to get these out. And if you go slow and carefully, it will just pop out nicely, and then you can reuse your druzy mold. Absolutely love the effect that this gives. And because I have gone right to the top of the mold, I still have lots of extra overhanging bits of resin. They're wafer thin, but they will need to be sanded back. It's not too difficult to do. You can either clip them off, you can see them there. Those you clip off with a pair of scissors, and then the ones on the edges you can just file down. This is the purple one, the vineyard one. I absolutely love that colour. And then this is that gorgeous patina colour one. And you can use these coasters both ways. It's flat enough to use both ways. You don't have to use the front side. That's the front side there. And I'm going to cover them with a box and flatten them on that paper, and I'm going to let them fully cure for another couple of days. And if you wanted, you could embellish the edges as I've done. I have just done the top of the edges. I've not done the sides, but if you wanted to do the sides too, you could. And there we go. I think they're stunning. They really shine in the light, and they look extra special if you have a glass table too, because the druzy effect really will come through. And you could even use them as a plate, so you could place a little plate for nibbles in the middle, or I've only got 2 here to show you, but you could put 4, or you could put your wine glass on it. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. I wish you all a great holidays and a happy new year, hoping that this year will be a little more fruitful for everybody than 2020. Take good care of yourselves, everybody. My best love from me. Bye.